Hey, love. I am so excited that you have tuned in to the Organic Marketing Simplified podcast. Today, I am pumped to share with you 3 ways that you can make $1,000 in your podcast every month. Now, I'm not one to usually get on my soapbox about much. At least I don't think I do. I'm also not one to give you tough love. But for this episode, I feel it's necessary that I lay down some ground rules, that I set the expectation, because I know in this online space, we have been brainwashed, we have learned many things, and sometimes we can get stuck in our ways, and that can actually keep us from growing, can actually keep us from seeing new opportunities, and it can keep us from trying out new things. So what I'm going to share with you today, if the exact things I share with you don't exactly work for you, think about, okay, but how can I make this work for me? How can I implement this into my business so that it actually works for me? Because listen, sometimes we just have to put the thinking cap on and try different things and think about the possibilities instead of all the ways that this could go wrong and all the ways that this would not work for me. Now, for some of you, I understand that $1,000, it's not going to cut it. But for some of you, like $1,000 is a lot of money. And dare I say that if you make $1,000 in your podcast, you are more than covering the cost to produce your podcast. If you are hiring out an agency, like a really top-notch agency like mine, like $1,000 is going to cover the costs of having the podcast running. And for many of you, you may think that $1,000 is not anything, but if I were to ask you, are you making any money with your podcast right now? You'd be like, well, no, I'm not. So take the $1,000 and that is a starting point, right? Like we can, of course, make more money. Like we don't have to stay capped at $1,000. The beauty about this is that we can increase prices. Once we have proof of concept, we can add more things. So let's build on the business that we have and improve on it. And even the things that I'm going to share with you, like the 3 juicy ideas that I'm going to share with you, just remember, those are things that we can always make it work for our business. Okay. So I feel like I've said what I had to say about not being stuck in your ways or just having the heart to heart with you and a little bit of tough love. You know what I'm saying? It's, we just need it sometimes. Okay. So let's get into it. So the first idea that I want to share with you is for you to start offering coaching in your podcast. Now, why do I say coaching? Because it's easy, because in this day and age, we just feel so disconnected from people. And if you think about the traditional ways of working with people online is you can buy a 3-month package or a 6-month package, or you can get into a course, or maybe you can get into a mastermind, or maybe you can get inside of a group coaching program. But sometimes we just want that one-on-one attention and we just want to do one call to see how it goes. So by offering this one-off calls, you can not only make money directly from your podcast, but you can also help out somebody who may be on the fence, you know? And here's the thing I want to say too. Sometimes the one-on-one call, like just having that one-off call is the gateway for them to go ahead and purchase a longer package with you. But sometimes all somebody really needs is that one call. If you have in your mind that I can only offer a 3-month package or a 6-month package and they have to be on Voxer and they have to do homework and they have to do this, like you just need to give your person a little bit of trust and understand that sometimes we have this very specific ICA in our minds and we think that they need to follow the exact steps and it needs to be exactly like this. We just need to give people a chance. You know, so like I said, sometimes that one-on-one call, that one-off call is all they need to commit with you. And a lot of times all they need is that one-off call and it's life-changing for them. So do not limit yourself thinking that you can only do like a 3-month or a 6-month package or whatever package you have in mind. Be open to the idea that you can offer one-off, one-on calls. Okay. So I'm going to pull up my calculator here because the girl doesn't do math really well. But let's just say you do 10 coaching calls and that you charge $100. Well, that's $1,000 right there. Now, if you think about 10 people, it is not that hard for you to get 10 people from your podcast. Even if you have a smaller show, it is not that hard. So let's do some math here for a second. So if you want 10 people to sign up with you, okay? And you divide that. Let's just say you have a conversion rate of 2.5%. Okay, so you want to take 10 divided by 2.5%. That equals 400. So what that means is that you need 400 people to listen to your podcast. And then you're talking about your offer. And then if you have a 2.5% conversion rate, which is pretty standard, by the way, you're going to get 10 people to sign up with you on your one-off coaching. And assuming that you're charging $100, you're making your $1,000 right there. So that's one way to do it. So 400 downloads per month on a podcast is something very doable even earlier on. I would say that if you're starting your podcast and you don't have an audience, maybe you don't have a huge email list, or like, listen, let's take me for example. Okay. When I started my podcast, I didn't have anything, like not a social media following, not an email list, nothing. And I think I hit 400 downloads by the third month. I don't have the figures in front of me, but it's something like that. So the point I'm trying to make is you can be a fairly new podcaster and get 400 downloads total per month in your podcast. It's very, very doable. So you don't have to have a huge audience, and do not let this idea that you have to have a certain number of people on your email list before you can pitch. No, my love. We're doing this right now. You have an audience right now. You have people listening to you week after week on your podcast. Let's take advantage of that right now. Do not wait for whatever number you have in mind. Do not wait for the special day, for the special time, for the stars to align. Like right now is the time for you to start pitching your services. Okay. So if you're getting 400 downloads total a month on your podcast and you're pitching your one-off coaching call in every call, you should be able to convert 10 people into a client, and you're charging $97. Now, I'm sorry, not a 97. I like things that end in 7, so that's why I said 7, but obviously you want to do like $100 here because then you get your 1,000. But what I'm trying to say is, for some of you, $100 for an hour, you're like, oh, whatever. Listen, do something special here. You can do like maybe 45 minutes if your 1 hour is more. Like, think outside the box. There's a way that you can do this. Number one. Number two, remember what I said. If you're not making any money from your podcast right now, it is time to maybe drink some of the humble tea and think of ways that you can actually make money from your podcast. Number three, if you feel like $100 is too much, then how can you add a little bit more value so that you can get up to the $100, right? So like, let's say in your mind, you're like, oh gosh, I do not believe that I can charge more than like 75. So yeah, go ahead and charge your 75. Just know that you're going to have to get like a little bit more people to convert, right? So that you can actually hit that 100 mark. Or what you can do is you can go ahead and add a little bit more support if you feel like it needs it. So maybe you can do like a 1 hour call, and then like after 30 days, maybe you can do like a 15-minute follow-up or something like that. So that way you feel like you're adding that value that can get you up to that $100 if you feel like you're not at that level where you can charge $100 for an hour, maybe 45 minutes for now. And like I said, for some of you, maybe you're going to do like this one-off 30-minute calls and they're worth $100, and you just have to work the math out in your head. But the point I'm trying to say is look at the possibilities and how you can make this work. So this is the juicy idea number one. Juicy idea number two is for you to expand your reach in a way that actually totally makes sense in this online space. And for me, if you're gonna expand your online reach, this online space by making money, right? Like you're actually putting things out there to sell, I highly recommend that you look into selling in a marketplace like Etsy, and you can think about what are things that I can sell on Etsy that I can supplement my income with so that it can actually partner up with my business. It's not distracting from my business, it's adding to my business. So if you're a coach, a lot of coaches have their modalities, their things that they do. Maybe you do journaling with your clients. Maybe you have prompts and things like that. Maybe you are a parenting coach of some sort and you help people plan their days or whatever. So you could sell like your planners on Etsy. You could sell journaling prompts, all those things. You can sell them on Etsy. So if you go on Etsy right now and you look up, journaling prompts for XYZ, you're going to find probably more than likely, you're going to find people already selling that on Etsy, which is a good thing. Like it means that people are going to Etsy and then like searching for those things. Again, like there are tons of digital planners that are sold on Etsy. And honestly, it's something as simple as you're going to go on Canva, create this product. You're going to take the time to create it once, and then you're going to put it on Etsy. Of course, you're going to SEO optimize it. You are a podcaster, so you should be SEO optimizing everything. And if you're like, oh, I haven't been SEO optimizing anything, then fret not. Go ahead and head over to the link in the show notes where I share with you a free SEO crash course that's going to blow your mind, and it's going to be super helpful. And the things that I share inside of the course, that is the SEO crash course, also apply for Etsy. By the way, like, a lot of keywords are going to overlap. So it's not like you're creating extra work for yourself. It's not like Etsy is hard to understand. Like, Etsy is very simple. I have sold on Etsy, not anything related to this business, but my whole online career began with e-commerce, first selling on Amazon, then selling on Etsy. So I can tell you firsthand that Etsy is an amazing platform to sell on. So again, thinking outside the box, maybe you have a photography podcast. Maybe you can sell like presets on Etsy. Maybe you can sell invoice templates on Etsy. Maybe you can sell posing guides on Etsy. Like, there's so many things that you can do that will supplement what it is that you do already in whatever it is that you do with your online business. And again, you just have to think a little bit outside the box and think, okay, what can I do here? How can Etsy actually support me? And I'm saying Etsy because Etsy, of course, is a very well-known e-commerce platform. It comes in with the built-in trust, and I think it's a very forgiving platform. And the traffic's already there. Like, you don't have to go and hustle for extra traffic. Like, if you do SEO correctly, which is, I promise you, is not that hard, Etsy will reward you and bring you people. So do not sleep on this idea of creating digital downloads of any sort and putting them up on Etsy, because that can be a way for you to, one, easily make $1,000 a month, if not more. But two, you're expanding your brand in a way that makes sense, because you're not fiddling with social media and wasting all this time hustling and running after people. No, like, people that are going on Etsy, they're ready to buy something. And if you play by the games, which is not hard. By the way, I just want to pause here for a second and let you know that before I pivoted this podcast and I started talking about marketing and podcasting, all of those things, I want to say that maybe the first 150 episodes or so of this same podcast you're listening to, it was all about Etsy. Remember, this is how I got started in this online space, was by selling on Amazon, selling on Etsy. So if you're like, man, I really like this Etsy idea, oh my gosh, you're in such good hands, because you can go back and binge from like episode 1 all the way to like maybe episode 150, if not more. And I can promise you, if you take really good notes, you can start your Etsy shop and have a whole lot of success, because other people have done it. So this is why I'm like so passionate about Etsy, because it is such a great platform for you to sell on and make extra money. And it doesn't have to be that you're making pottery in your bathroom and like selling it. Like, you can actually sell digital downloads on Etsy, and it can be things that actually match up with your current business. Okay, now for juicy idea number 3. By the way, I'm loving this episode so far because I am loving how tactical everything is. And like, you can literally, after this episode, you can go back and listen to it again, like take notes, and you can really start to think of, okay, what can I do right now to make this work for me, and take the steps to actually make it happen. So I feel like this is a super pumped, like empowering episode. So share with your friends, because I'm, of course, like super excited to share that with you. So anyway, moving on to idea number 3. Juicy idea 3 is for you to think about a lower cost course that you can offer to your people, that again, you're taking the time to create this course. And obviously we want to keep the cost low. Again, thinking about if we want to convert 10 people per month, we want to keep around $100, right? So obviously, if you sell a course and it's a big, robust course and you're charging $500, I'm not suggesting just make that $100. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, maybe you can take a portion of what you teach and either recycle it from the bigger course that you have, or you can create a whole new separate course that is super niched in and detailed, and like there's a micro win that somebody comes in, right? Like, let's say if I wanted to do a mini course on SEO, for example, and all it is, it's the SEO course, right? Like, that's something I could easily charge $100 for. So thinking about what is something that is super detailed and super zeroed in that I can go and create a course on, that is full of value, but also, I'm charging $100 for or whatever. And again, go ahead and create that course. The beauty is you're creating that thing once and then you're just offering it on your episode. So you create it once, you put it up on your host. The one that I use, the one that I recommend is Thrivecart because it's a one-time fee and you process your payments through there. You can create your sales pages on there if you want, and you can host your courses on there. And it's just overall a very good platform. So Thrivecart is what I recommend. And if you want to do Thrivecart yourself, let me know because I can hook you up and you get some bonuses when you buy from me. So regardless, those are 3 ways that you can go ahead and start monetizing your podcast right now. And like I said, the beauty is, let's say you're doing these coaching calls, right? Like for $100 and maybe you're getting booked, like you're getting 15 calls a month, you're getting 20 calls a month because that will eventually happen. You get to raise your prices. And then of course, less people are probably going to sign up, but you get to work the same amount of time with less people and still make the same amount of money, right? And then eventually you're going to make more and more money, right? With the digital downloads, like on Etsy, there's really no limit. You can honestly just make so much money on Etsy. It's crazy. Like there are people making thousands of dollars on Etsy right now with downloadables. So that's definitely a route that you can go. And then of course, with your course, it's great because you're creating that thing once and then it's just selling on repeat. Now, with all of that being said, I just want to say one thing. These ideas are very easy for you to put into practice, right? Like obviously, the most time-consuming one would probably be Etsy. If you have to go on Canva, create these guides, whatever. And then if you want to make a course, that's obviously going to take time too and all of that. Of course, coaching, you could just like start offering coaching on your podcast today, right now. Not a big deal. But just because something is easy, I'm going to get back on my soapbox here. Just because something is easy does not mean that you're going to start making $1,000 next week, next month, right? So remember, if you have never sold anything on your podcast and people are hearing for the first time, then now you sell this thing and you're offering this thing until you get in the groove of doing a good pitch on your podcast, because we're talking about it on the podcast, obviously, and you get in the flow and people will start listening and they're like, you know what? She offers coaching. Like maybe the first time that they hear your pitch, they don't listen. They're distracted. Maybe the second time, they're like, oh, okay, she offers coaching. Maybe the third time they're like, oh yeah, I forgot she offers coaching. Maybe the fourth time they're like, man, maybe I should do coaching, right? So like, I think they say like people need to hear the message like 7 times before they make a decision. So the point I'm trying to say is do not try this for a week and then quit because nobody bought. Okay. You got to stay committed. Just because something is easy for you to create does not mean the next week you're going to start talking about it and people are going to run in and buy from you. It does not work like that. Maybe you're one of the ones that maybe people are just waiting for you to put out an offer and maybe people are going to blow up and buy everything from you. Amazing. But for the majority of people, that's not going to be the case. So I do not want to set any false expectations here that you're going to go and set up your Etsy shop and the next month you're making a couple $1,000s. So let's be realistic here and let's be grounded. Just set up the systems, right? We're going to start promoting what we do. We're going to refine our pitch. We're going to get better at what we do. And the more that we do it, the better that we get. And then we start making money. So my love, if you want to get extra help from me directly and you're like, you know what? Let's do it. I want you to help me come up with a product idea. I want you to help me come up with a way to make money from my podcast. Then I have one-off coaching calls that we can book. And my calls are fire. I can link some of them for you down below. I'm not wasting time. I'm to the point. We're not here to talk about the weather. I'm here to give you a solid plan because I want you to succeed. I want you to make money. I want you to get more downloads. I want you to fulfill your dreams, right? Because we all become entrepreneurs for a reason. So if you hop on a coaching call with me, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose for sure. Luckily, the calls are recorded, so you get a replay of the call. But the point is, if you were like, oh my gosh, I love these ideas, but I'm not sure which way to go, we can hop on a call and I can give you the roadmap and we can discuss it together and we can come up with a solid plan that works for you. So again, I will leave all the information for that linked for you down below. And don't forget that whatever you do in this online space, it needs to be SEO optimized, right? So I will leave, like I said earlier, I have that free crash course that I will leave linked for you down below as well. So you can go ahead and get your hands on some really juicy free SEO material so that you can dominate SEO, because obviously we're putting out this podcast episodes out into the world, and the way that people find us is through SEO, right? So we need to have our SEO on point. I'm going to say this again. I say this every time. SEO is not a beast. It's easy. It's simple. It's your best friend. You just don't know it yet. My love, until next time, may you find God's love and peace, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Organic Marketing Simplified for Podcasters. If you're ready to take your podcast to the next level, let's work together. I offer a group coaching program called the Profitable Podcast Blueprint, where you have lifetime access not only to the program itself and all updates, but also to me inside of a group coaching container. So you also have access to other podcasters that you can network with. So that's one way that we can work together. I also own a podcast marketing and production agency. So if all you want to do is to record your episodes and send it to us and have us do all the back work for you while making sure that your show is getting all the visibility it deserves, then that's another way that we can work together. And finally, I have one-on-one coaching. So come hang out with me. Go to julianabarbati.com for all the information, and I cannot wait to see you back here next week.